Micro-innovation, 5 small changes that create great products. Jacob is a marketing professor at Columbia University and Israel's Bar-Ilan University, dedicated to research on thinking and innovation. The Wall Street Journal praised him as one of the most influential researchers in innovation, including him in their list of 10 people most likely to change the world. Drew, on the other hand, is a quintessential practitioner with over 30 years of business experience. He developed a highly acclaimed marketing course at Johnson & Johnson. He regularly serves on boards of major global companies, using his unique, innovative thinking to help solve countless business challenges. This book presents a revolutionary perspective on innovation. While traditional thinking suggests that innovation is mysterious and without specific rules, requiring us to break existing frameworks and find solutions through divergent thinking, this book argues that creativity has fixed rules and methods. These methods don't come from wild, divergent thinking, but rather from applying systematic approaches within familiar territories, which can yield even more brilliant innovations than thinking outside the box. Why do the best innovations come from within the framework? The framework consists of the problem itself and its surrounding temporal and spatial context. For instance, if you're sitting in your bedroom, the framework includes you, the house, and everything in it, the bed, desk, coat rack, along with the evening time, collectively forming the space-time framework. Thinking within the framework means that the best innovation opportunities are right around us, though we rarely consider them this way. We often hope to step outside and trigger our creativity through wild ideas. However, such divergent thinking can lead to inefficiency, as these ideas are often scattered and superficial, rarely providing significant insights into the specific problems we're trying to solve. Researchers have systematically studied brainstorming and found that its effectiveness isn't significantly different from individual thinking. Many brainstorming sessions end up producing little more than scattered thoughts, lacking both originality and practicality. Conversely, thinking within the framework is more likely to generate creative solutions. Thinking within the framework can produce methodical approaches that systematically generate creativity. Yes, you heard right. Creativity has methods, and systematic ones at that. In other words, we can learn creativity just like we learn arithmetic. The authors believe creativity isn't an innate talent or exclusive to Steve Jobs. It's a skill like writing that anyone can learn and master. The only prerequisite is thinking within the framework. When we think, we often fall into various fixed mindsets. For instance, we assume birds fly in the sky and fish swim in water. These are typical examples of fixed thinking patterns. The author refers to this rigid thinking as fixation. The key to fostering creativity lies in breaking free from this fixation and eliminating stereotypical thinking patterns, allowing us to see familiar problems in a new light. What if birds could fly underwater? What if fish could crawl on land? Such questions might lead to unexpected and brilliant creative ideas. Imagine you're driving alone in a desert when your car gets stuck in a sand pit. There's no one around to help, and you can't find any wooden planks or cardboard to place under your wheels. What would you do? How would you get your car unstuck? Our typical response might be to call for help or light a fire to attract attention. However, if you understand the concept of thinking within the framework, you'll realize you need to look inward rather than outward. Looking externally for excessive associations only takes you further from the core of the problem. Using the framework-based thinking approach to look inward, you might search inside your car and realize the car's floor mats are perfect tools. They have textured surfaces that create sufficient friction, and they're flexible enough to place under the wheels in any position. Suddenly, what seemed like a difficult problem has a simple solution. Without the habit of thinking within the framework, we see the car as a problem requiring external help. But internal thinking reveals that we already have resources at hand to solve the problem, making creative solutions easily accessible. Because everyone has fixed thinking patterns, breaking them leads to reactions like, "Wow, that's so creative." For example, people assume TVs must have screens. Removing the screen led to projectors. They thought TVs needed buttons. Removing them led to remote controls. They believed more is better. Taking things away led to minimalism. Therefore, good ideas come from thinking within the framework and breaking fixed patterns within it. Of course, creative ideas aren't always the best solutions. Put simply, Sometimes the best answer might lie outside the framework, but if you want to enhance your creativity and develop effective ideation skills, thinking within the framework is crucial. However, merely knowing how to break fixed thinking patterns isn't enough. We need to know what to do after breaking them, which brings us to our second topic, key principles of systematic innovation. We mentioned that systematic innovation requires thinking within the framework, but that alone isn't sufficient. We also need to adjust our thinking methods. Usually, we believe innovation starts with clearly defining the problem before seeking solutions. For example, consider this problem. Babies are very sensitive to bottle temperature, and slightly too warm milk can burn them. Parents struggle when warming milk at night, squinting and trying to get the temperature just right. Too hot is dangerous, too cold isn't suitable. It's particularly frustrating when the baby is crying. How can we prevent milk from becoming too hot? Our typical approach is to identify a problem first and then search for solutions. While this may seem perfectly normal, psychological research has shown that innovative thinking actually works in two directions: the common path from problem to solution and the reverse path from solution to problem. In other words, we should start with an abstract solution and then consider what problems it could solve. This is actually contrary to our traditional experience. We're naturally better at finding functions within existing forms, discovering uses for solutions, rather than creating forms for known functions or finding answers to problems. This reverse thinking approach, from solution to problem, is known as form first, function second, and is a key principle of systematic innovation. Let's apply this to our earlier example about hot milk. Consider a baby bottle that changes color based on milk temperature. What problem does this solve? You can quickly see it prevents burns by warning when the milk is too hot. The author suggests that innovation's key is to first generate various creative solutions, then explore their potential applications. This approach often leads to unexpected and highly creative solutions. That's the essence of systematic innovation. Start with form, then consider function, beginning with solutions rather than problems. Now that we understand innovation requires thinking within frameworks and starting with solution forms before considering problems, where do these initial solutions come from? How do we develop them further? This brings us to our third topic, the 5 methods of framework innovation: subtraction strategy, handling strategy, penalty strategy, system task coordination, and attribute dependency strategy. While these 5 methods might sound complex, they're simply tools for breaking conventional thinking and generating creative solutions. They fall into 3 categories. 1. Redesigning components within our framework: subtraction, handling, and penalty strategies. 2. Finding new uses for existing elements: system task coordination strategy. 3. Creating new connections between framework elements: attribute dependency strategy. Let's examine how these methods break conventional thinking within frameworks to produce remarkable results. First, let's look at the first category: using subtraction, handling, and penalty strategies to transform basic elements within our framework. These 3 methods are grouped together because they all deal with modifying internal components of products or services. The approach and process for modification remain consistent, though specific methods may differ. When innovating using this type of method, follow these 5 steps. First, list all the components of a product or service. Second, select one component to remove, reorganize, or adjust. Third, imagine the outcome after making these adjustments. Fourth, consider this new result as a creative solution and think backwards about its potential applications, like how we discussed the uses of a temperature-sensitive color-changing cup. Fifth, if the application has value, evaluate its feasibility. Let's make this less abstract by looking at examples of subtraction, division, and enhancement strategies. Let's start with the subtraction strategy. This involves removing features previously considered essential. Take a traditional pair of headphones. How would you innovate them? Following our 5 steps. First, identify the components: speakers, ear cushions, audio cable, and plug. Second, remove one component. Let's remove the ear cushions. Third, imagine headphones without cushions. Fourth, consider the uses. Without cushions, they'd be more compact and portable. Fifth, is it feasible? With technological improvements, this became today's earbuds. You could apply this method further. Remove the cable, you get wireless headphones. Remove the speaker, it becomes a radio antenna. The subtraction strategy generates countless ideas within a framework. Reducing blog posts to 140 characters created Twitter, removing the MP3 playlist function, and keeping only shuffle play led to the iPod, both results of subtraction. Note, the component you remove should be something previously considered essential, but not the core function or the least important feature. The most impactful changes come from removing moderately important components. The division strategy works similarly. It involves breaking down a product or service's features into multiple parts and recombining them in new ways to discover new uses. The steps mirror the subtraction strategy. For example, let's apply the division strategy to boxed milk. First, break it down into components: the paper carton, different flavored milk, and straw. Second, further divide these parts and recombine them. Separate the flavoring from the milk and combine it with the straw. Third, imagine the result: a straw filled with flavoring. Step 4. Ask yourself what advantages this straw has and what it can be used for. You'll discover that with the same milk, we can pair it with different straws, creating various flavors from a single serving of milk. Step 5. Consider if this idea is feasible. In fact, some companies have already done this, naming their product Magic Straws. Mothers buy these flavored straws to encourage their children to drink more milk, allowing them to experience different tastes from the same milk. You can also imagine combining milk and straws in different ways. Similarly, people have used the separation strategy to reorganize airline boarding procedures. Previously, passengers had to queue at counters to print boarding passes before security checks. By separating these processes, self-check-in kiosks were created. Bank ATMs were developed using the same principle. Now, let's look at the duplication strategy. This involves copying one part of an item or service and making slight modifications to create product innovations. Let's apply the duplication strategy to a nail. Step 1. Break down its structure. It has a head and a shaft. Step 2. Select a part to duplicate and modify, like adding another head next to the original one. Step 3. Imagine a nail with 2 heads. Step 4. Ask yourself what benefits this could have. While some might dismiss it as useless, consider that a 2-headed nail won't roll off tables, is safer to hold while hammering, and can serve as a hook when mounted on a wall. Step 5. Consider its feasibility. It's quite possible to manufacture. This is how the duplication strategy leads to innovation. You can also imagine duplicating the pointed end. What uses might a double-pointed nail have? There are many examples of successful duplication strategies. Adding 2 extra wheels to a bicycle creates a safer children's bike. Duplicating a TV screen creates picture-in-picture functionality. These strategies, subtraction, division, and duplication, all involve modifying specific parts of products. The second category of innovation strategies is task coordination. Simply put, it's about making products or services multifunctional by utilizing internal or external components in unexpected ways. Let's break this down. Again, we follow 5 steps, slightly different from before. Step 1. List both internal and external components of the product or service. Unlike previous strategies that only considered internal parts, we now include external elements. For example, with a mobile phone, an external component would be the user's hand. The table where you place your phone and the headphones you connect to it are closely related to the phone but aren't part of the phone itself. These are external components. The second step is to choose either an external or internal component and assign it a new task. For example, while traditional phone companies develop their own software, Apple chose an external component by assigning app developers to create software for their platform. This is utilizing external components for specific functions. You can also assign new tasks to internal components. For instance, having your company's receptionist also serve as the company's file manager. You can even have internal components perform external functions, like having the receptionist double as the company photographer. Poor receptionist, they're quite busy indeed. The third step is to envision what the new product would look like. The fourth step is to evaluate the advantages and uses of this new product. The fifth step is to assess its feasibility. The subsequent steps follow a similar pattern. There's a classic psychology experiment where you're given a box of thumbtacks, a box of matches, and a candle. The task is to mount the candle on the wall without it touching the table or using any other tools. Many people struggle to find the solution. Using the task coordination strategy of multifunctionality, think about how internal components can take on new roles. The solution is to empty the thumbtack box, use it as a candle holder, and pin it to the wall, giving the box a new purpose. This task coordination innovation strategy often leads to creative solutions. For instance, a brand slogan, "Strong Women," plays with the double meaning of strong, making it memorable. A New York hotel president visited the same hotel in Seoul twice. During his second visit, the front desk staff warmly greeted him, saying, "Welcome back, sir." Impressed, he wanted to implement this at his New York hotel. When he inquired about implementing such a system, consultants suggested installing facial recognition technology costing millions of dollars, far too expensive. On his next visit to Seoul, he stayed at the same hotel to uncover their secret. After receiving the same warm welcome, he asked the receptionist how they recognized him. The answer surprised him. The hotel had a simple arrangement with taxi drivers who would casually chat with guests during the ride, asking if they had stayed at the hotel before. The driver places guests' luggage on the right side of the front desk for returning customers and on the left side for new guests. This way, the receptionist can instantly identify whether it's a regular or new customer just by looking at where the luggage is placed, and the driver earns $1. This clever system helps the hotel avoid expensive equipment investments by repurposing the driver's role to include guest recognition, creating an innovative solution with significant business value. This represents the second type of innovation. The third type is called attribute dependency strategy, which involves creating new connections between existing attributes within a framework, linking previously unrelated properties in meaningful ways. For example, consider baby bottles. The Royal Industrial Group in Thailand created an innovative product by connecting milk temperature with the bottle's appearance. When milk exceeds 38 degrees, the bottle changes color, helping parents ensure the perfect temperature for their baby. Similar concepts have been adopted in the food industry. For instance, juice bottles with labels that change color when heated to the optimal drinking temperature. The key to this strategy is identifying variables within the framework and exploring potential relationships between previously unconnected factors to generate new ideas. Let's take an example of innovating a traditional baby diaper rash cream. This product, used to prevent diaper rash, contains moisturizing oils and active ingredients. It has remained largely unchanged for over a century, with different manufacturers producing similar formulations with only slight variations in percentages. To innovate this century-old product using attribute dependency strategy, we start by identifying variables. From the consumer's perspective, variables include scent, color, and adhesiveness. From the baby's perspective, variables include frequency of bowel movements, age, skin sensitivity, and timing of diaper changes. Traditionally, there was no connection between the cream's scent and the baby's bowel movements. What if we created one? The cream could be scentless when the diaper is only wet, but release a pleasant fragrance when there's a bowel movement. This allows parents to know when to change the diaper without having to check it physically. Let's try another combination: the cream's consistency and time of day. What if we created a cream with varying viscosity, thicker at night and thinner during the day? This makes sense because diaper changes are less frequent at night, requiring more protection, while during the day, more frequent changes allow for a lighter formula that lets the skin breathe better. This leads to the innovation of day and night formulations, a lighter cream for daytime use and a thicker one for nighttime protection. This solution addresses both daytime and nighttime needs through the creative linking of previously unrelated attributes, a perfect example of attribute dependency strategy. These are the core concepts of micro-innovation, 5 small changes that create remarkable products. Let's summarize the entire book. First, innovation rarely comes from divergent thinking, but rather from creative thinking within established constraints and frameworks. Second, when thinking within frameworks, fixed mindsets often hinder our innovation. The key to innovation is breaking through these fixed patterns and applying the principle of function follows form. Third, how do we break through fixed mindsets? We have 3 categories with 5 specific tools. 1. Division strategy. 2. Subtraction strategy. 3. Penalty strategy. 4. Multi-purpose task coordination strategy for finding new applications. 5. Property dependency strategy for establishing new connections between variables. By mastering these 5 methods, you'll be able to achieve better innovation within existing frameworks.